Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Times Now. I'm Meghna Dekha. Not quite often have we had, in this year at least, a reason to smile. Then along comes a story which gives us all the hope, the positivity that we need to see this year through. And one such story today is here from none other than Aishwarya Sheoran. I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about her and what not. After all, she's one of the finalists of Miss India. But not just that. I'm very tempted to say the very beautiful, gorgeous Aishwarya is joining us. But that is not her most standout of attributes, if I can call it myself, because she's also intelligent and, more importantly, she's so patriotic. She's decided it's her aim in life to serve the nation, which is why let me go across straight to Aishwarya. Aishwarya, I'm running out of words. How do you introduce yourself when you meet someone? What do you want to be known as?
Hello everyone, I'm Aishwarya Sheoran, a civil servant aspirant who has scored the rank 93. The only introduction which I can say about me at this point of time is that I am ready and willing to serve my nation. I come from a defense background, and the idea of service before self is what I believe in. And that's what I would like to be known as.
Service before self. And your father, I believe, Aishwarya, is a colonel. Did you ever think about joining the army yourself before you decided to go into modeling, now IAS?
Definitely, the thought did cross my mind. But at the same time, since childhood, it had been my dream to join the civil services. More so because, my father is already in the army. So I thought that, let's diversify. So a soldier dies for the nation, a civil servant lives for the nation. So they're both two sides of the same coin.
Put it better myself. That's very beautifully put. A soldier dies for the nation, a civil servant lives for the nation. But Aishwarya, tell me, is it true? I hear that you were named after Aishwarya Rai, that your mother always knew all along that you're going to be this big model, famous face, plastered across famous ads, as well as winning beauty pageants. Is that true?
Yes, the story is true. My mother named me after Aishwarya Rai Bachchan-ji, but it was her dream to, make her daughter participate in the pageant and hopefully, to represent India in the Miss World. And I participated to fulfill that dream. See, there are dreams that your parents have. And I think as her daughter, it is my responsibility to make sure that I do everything in my capacity to be able to fulfill it. I think it is my way of repaying what she has done for me.
This is very interesting. At what time did you decide that you wanted to appear for the UPSC exams and not pursue a career in modeling, which seemed to be so very promising at the time?
It's true that I was at a comfortable position in the modeling industry. But to be very honest with you, my civil services dream goes back to my childhood days, especially in my 12th grade. When I was passing out, my board exams were over. That was the time when I set a mental deadline for myself that, within 5 years, I have to appear for this exam. This is what I want to be. So my 12th got over in 2014, and 2019, I appeared for the exam. I took it.
Well, you make it sound so very easy. How did you prepare for it? Is it true that you didn't even go for any coaching classes, which most of the people do?
Yes, I did not take any coaching classes. I think it's a personal choice. My parents have never encouraged taking tuitions or any extra coaching because it doesn't suit me. For me, self-study is what I believe in. But to each his own, I think every person should decide what they are comfortable with. And a lot of mentors helped me in my journey. When I was preparing for my interview, IPS Mahesh Bhagwat sir, who is posted in Telangana, he has started a wonderful WhatsApp group in which, it's for free. So a lot of people, a lot of aspirants can join it. They can take care of the mentorship. They take care of the mentorship. They provide you with the relevant articles, the study material. So I think as my journey moved forward, a lot of people came in to help me, but I did not take any formal coaching as such.
So what really is self-study for civil exams? Because a lot of aspirants must be watching our show right now. If you have to give them advice, how should they prepare by themselves?
See, I believe that civil services is one exam which stretches for a long period of time. It's not like your 12th boards or your college exams. You study for one night and it's over. 1 year of preparation, that's the minimum time. and then another year for the exam itself. So at least 2 years is what you have to give to the exam. So when you have to study for such a long time, if you exhaust your fuel right at the beginning, you are not going to go through it. The idea is to balance out. So personally, what worked for me was to understand my own capacity and capabilities. I cannot study for more than 10 hours a day. That is my capacity. I know that. A lot of toppers can stretch it to at least to more than 18 hours. But for me, 10 hours is more than enough. So I stayed at that. I maintained that balance because, when you have to study for so long, you have to be in the right physical as well as mental state to be able to reach up to the final level.
So you said the first year is going to be only study. So what kind of study was it? What kind of routine were you following?
I had a very simple routine. So 10 hours a day was my study time. And I planned in such a way that I had weekly targets.
Okay.
So for the entire week, I used to write down topics which I had to finish in that week. And apart from that, right in the morning, as soon as I used to get up, I'm an early riser. So I used to start studying in the morning around 5:30. So I used to write down the relevant topics that I was going to finish on that very day.
Okay.
So that is how I balance. I had my targets right in front of me. And when you see your goal, you're able to plan it better. So I had those written down, and as the time goes, I used to tick them off whenever I used to finish the topic and move on. So that is how I planned my studies.
Many of them would say that one of the biggest distraction is that of friends, social media. How did you keep away from all of that?
When people hear my story, they're like, she must have entered into a cave and, gone on some sort of tapasya kind of phase. But that is not true. The people who mattered to me, I was in touch with them. I was pretty much in touch with every friend of mine. But when you talk about social media, there are a lot of virtual friends that you have that can wait for a year or two. I think my friends are very understanding. They knew that I was preparing for a particular exam, which requires to sacrifice certain things. And I used to call them up whenever I felt like talking, or especially Sundays, because Sundays I used to take a break. I never study on Sunday. I used to do whatever I liked. I used to watch movies, go for a walk, do shopping. So I think I balanced it in a way that, mentally that pressure was not there on me.
That's great advice coming from you. I hope all the people who are going to be appearing for the next exam are going to keep that in mind. But also, Aishwarya, tell us a bit about the interview, how you managed to crack it. I believe they asked you about Khap Panchayat. What did you say?
See, the question of Khap Panchayat came because I was born in Haryana. My mother belongs to Haryana. So inevitably, Haryana is, infamous for women issues. But at the same time, I think the state is making strides with the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign. So when the Khap Panchayat question came, my answer was very simple, that Khap Panchayat is essentially, it was meant to be an assembly of elders. An assembly of elders which take care of the, local issues.
Right.
So even though the Supreme Court judgment has come about Khap Panchayat, the illegal orders that Khap Panchayat are famous for, honor killing and all these issues, they cannot be tolerated. But if we can utilize this institution in a better way, if we can channelize it to help the government instead of going against it, I think that is the way forward. Because ultimately, they're just local people who need a little bit of awareness to turn them from a hub of patriarchy into a supporter of campaign for women empowerment. So I think the Panchayati Raj institutions, the grassroots volunteers can help to raise awareness and, give them a whole new direction.
You are now looking at, hopefully it's going to be a glorious career in civil services. What is going to be your aim? What kind of interventions do you think you will be able to make in your career to try and improve these certain social evils that you've already discussed? Khap Panchayat, the status of women, women empowerment, hopefully is also going to be on your radar.
Definitely. Till now I haven't gotten the news as to what service I'm getting. But apart from that, my ultimate focus is definitely on education, on women empowerment, and also because I come from an economics background. Nowadays, there's a lot of talk on circular economic model. Niti Aayog has released a report on it, which means that you use the 5R principle: reduce, reuse, recycle, diffuse, repurpose. So instead of going on a linear model of use and throw, you channelize the waste, you use every bit of it to save the environment, to save the socio-cultural ethnicity of the place, and to ultimately reduce the impact of industrialization and the harmful effects that we see on the environment and on Mother Earth today. So I think I'm going to utilize this knowledge in whatever way possible to contribute to this cause as well.
Well, Aishwarya, a lot of people are very apprehensive when it comes to joining the bureaucracy. Many are saying there's a lot of red tapeism, there's a lot of political pressure as well. Do you have apprehensions of that?
I think for a civil servant, it's very important to know when to say no for the wrong thing. You need to have that courage, you need to have that determination to serve your nation, and at the same time remain objective and neutral about everything. As a civil servant, my duty would be to implement the policy which has been made from the top level in the most earnest way possible. And I think when you have the principles of neutrality and objectivity, and you make decisions based on merit of the issue, the idea of political pressure can be easily handled.
Are you apprehensive about any of the others? And if there are, let's say, people who are aspirants watching you right now, how would you convince them that it's better to join the civil services rather than joining a corporate house? Because you have so many options now which are available to the next generation, to the younger generation. How will you make it more viable, the civil services versus, let's say, a corporate job?
Definitely. I think nowadays a lot of opportunities are rising in several fields. But I think if you have a conviction to serve your nation, if you believe that the purpose of your life goes beyond material gains of, money, fame, success, all individualistic pleasures, then I think civil services will automatically attract you. And, the way civil services as an institution is transforming from, I think, long gone are the days when it was a colonial structure with civil servants being the masters of people. I think nowadays the fresh blood that is coming in the institution is very much a part of the people's initiatives. They are working at grassroots level, they are making changes in the society, and they are actually serving as servants of the people, true to its name.
So you think are civil servants today more accessible? Is that your contention now? And do you feel it?
Yes, I definitely feel civil servants today are much more approachable and more acceptable. They are coming from diverse fields. They're using their expertise to contribute in the policy making, decision making. And I think it's a very positive change.
And the reason I ask you that, if they are more accessible, is because there's a certain cliche about what a babu, as they are usually called, what a babu would look like, what an IAS officer is going to be looking like. Needless to say, you really don't fit into any of these cliches. How do you think that the role of a civil servant is now slowly evolving in this new aspirational India, where there are bright people like you from SRCC who've decided that instead of having one of these corporate jobs, you'd rather go and serve the nation?
See, to answer your first question, I feel that it's time we leave the notion that, you should, as they say, that you should not judge a book by its cover. So appearances can be deceptive. It's not about how you look or, your background. It's about how well you're able to do your job. And I think people from diverse backgrounds are coming into civil services, and they should be judged on the basis of how well they're contributing, how well they're working. Now, to answer your other question, I think civil services as an institution is changing completely. There is so much of the training is such that nowadays ethical training is being included. Even in the UPSC exam, there is a particular subject of ethics, which is playing a key role in the selection. So I think these changes itself signify the vision of the government as to what this institution should actually look like. So I think all these changes, if we look at the bigger picture, they are ultimately pointing towards a more people-friendly democracy, a more people-friendly bureaucracy.
People-friendly bureaucracy, when you have people like you, many are going to be able to relate to civil servants as well, and I really feel that's going to be setting up a very positive idea of how accessible now the entire bureaucracy has become, and hopefully there's going to be more transparency as well when we can actually relate to the people who are sitting there. But also, Aishwarya, what happens to your modeling career from now onwards? Many of the people who've seen you in several of these beauty pageants and ads would be wondering, are you going to pursue with that? You have once mentioned that it is merely a hobby for you.
Definitely. To correct you, I don't think it was ever a career for me. It was always a hobby, and I have left it 2 years ago. When I started preparing for civil services, for me, this was it. This had been my dream, and if you see in my entire life's journey, the way it has been, I was always a studious student. Then I took a break for modeling, and then again I was back being a nerd. So for me, modeling was actually the twist in the story, and not the other way around. So I think modeling career is long gone now, and I look forward to serving my nation.
How often do you have nerdy models in that world? Because give us an inside peek into what that world is like.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
I said, how often do you meet models who are nerds?
See, I think there are a lot of stereotypes going around. You know, you should not judge a person just by the profession they're following. People are a lot of things. Today, I'm a civil servant aspirant, a rank holder, I was a model, I'm a daughter. So every person has multiple identities, and I think we should respect that. Even in modeling field, I saw models who were already doing a great job at entrepreneurship. Some of them came from medical fields, some of them were engineers. So it's not that models are only like mannequins on the stage. I think that notion is very, very wrong, and it's time that people understand that every industry has got its own talent. You know, a lot goes behind the stage when a show is happening. There are artists, there are textile workers, there are tailors, there are makeup people. So a lot of effort goes into putting up that show. So I think we should respect that. We should respect each and every profession and understand that people can have multiple identities, they can have multiple interests. As long as they know how to do their job, that is what it is. We should respect that.
Well, Aishwarya, I hope you continue to break these stereotypes for a long time now and come up as an example of what aspirational modern India really ought to be looking like. But you've told us about how you've decided, you made your own goals, you studied for 2 long years, you decided that this is your goal, you set it, you wrote it down, you set up a routine. But did you ever think that you're going to not just crack the UPSC, but manage a rank of 93?
See, I think this exam is highly unpredictable. I definitely wasn't expecting anything. You know, you cannot expect the result. It is so unpredictable that, you know, even one day before I was wondering if my name was actually going to come in the list. So at every point of time, I felt that, you know, I'm not prepared enough. And my father used to actually nag me that, you know, it's fine. You will never be prepared enough for the exam. Because the syllabus is so vast that there will be questions that you would not be knowing. But I think you should just have the courage to take the exam and hope for the best and keep moving on, no matter what the result is. If I had not gotten selected this time, I would have still picked up my books the next day and started the same routine. It's all about consistency and discipline. And I think if you are committed to your goal, one day you will reach where you want to.
Well, it's been inspirational to speak to you, Aishwarya. It was such a pleasure to see someone knock down all the walls of what we presume the cliches ought to be. You've literally broken several of these boundaries, and hopefully you're going to continue to do so. Very soon, hopefully, we are going to also know where you're going to be posted, what you're going to be doing, but we do look forward to your kind of a journey, because this is going to provide inspiration to so people. And I would like to again reiterate what Aishwarya had told us during the show. A A soldier is ready to give his life. A civil servant is willing to live for the country. Hopefully, you continue to inspire and live for the country. Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for being here with us here on Times Now.